Hello everyone and welcome back. Super excited to announce our headline partner PwC with an amazing session for you, which will all be covered in a moment. But I'd love to welcome Usad. He is a senior associate in capital markets at PwC and he's going to take you on a bit of a journey today around all of his career and his background. So over to you, and any questions throughout, do just pop them in the chat and we can cover them a bit later on.
Thank you, everyone. My name is Shahid Amir, and I'm a senior associate at PwC Markets Advisory and Structuring Services, and I'm based in London. So most of my time spent is supporting under IPO, debt issuance, merger acquisition, restructuring support, and transaction readiness. A bit of my background: I did my undergraduate from Queen Mary University in England. So as a part of my university, I did an exchange program at university. So I stayed in Australia for around a year. So those were 2 semesters in Australia and 4 semesters in London. And graduation, I joined PwC's graduate program in their audit practice. A part of my time I also spent on PwC Middle East in the US before joining mergers and acquisition in London. So PwC really gave me the opportunity to travel and explore and see what I love, really am passionate about. So I finally ended up joining energy and utility markets. So that's the industry which I really like to focus on. And I like to keep myself fit, go on runs and enjoy a pizza here and there. So, enough about me. I would love to know a little about you. What are your backgrounds? I understand most of you guys might be from university or maybe at some point. So, James, if you could raise poll 1, I would want to know what your backgrounds are and where do you stand in your career journey. So you might see you would have a poll in your state section. There are 4 options. If you could select one of them, that would be really good. Great. So we've got quite a few people who are graduating soon and quite a few who have recently, and none from the GCSE and sixth form as expected. Let the results come in, yeah? I would encourage you guys all to vote so that we can know segments or what stages of your career you guys are. Great. This got 14 votes around graduating soon and 44% who are recent. That is really amazing. Well, just like you, 6 years ago, I was in my first year of university and was sessions like these for all the firms, specifically with and how I can embark my journey into PwC. And I personally used to be very overthinking about embark my journey and how I'm going to kickstart my career after 3 years. And I can definitely you guys are sitting today. So I would just say networking. I did a few internships in summer during my during my summer vacations, and then landed the audit scheme in 2018. Moving on, we have another poll. We would want to know what you know about PwC. James, if you could start poll number 2, that would be really good. So poll 2 asks us, what do you know about PwC? And there are 4 options. What does it provide? Audit services, tax, advisory, or all of the above? You might have to think twice because it might be a little tricky question for a few of us. because PwC itself is that has various services within its sublines of departments. That's an interesting one. So we've got quite a few people saying audit for 5%. We have got a lot of people saying PwC only provides tax, but in fact, PwC has audit, tax, all of the above. So kudos to the 80% of those who have voted all. Just to give you a background, PwC all these services to all the clients in every industry. That includes financial services, energy and utilities, resources and production, consumer and retail. So that's about me and PwC. Moreover, apart from my work, I'm also a council member of diversity and inclusion, a lot on providing equal opportunities to students from different diverse. So that is inherent within myself because I myself belong to a very social mobility background, to a small village in Pakistan, and I grew up there with very stringent financial difficulties and worked really hard grades and sixth form grades and got my scholarship through university and then further at University of Melbourne. So my exchange program funded by my London university, so that is something I'm really so I came through that journey. I came through those struggles. My urge to learn and my thirst to know about the world did not. I further went to Melbourne, came back, joined PwC, and then went to Middle East as well for a few months. Did this secondment there. So it's getting out there and getting those opportunities and just trying your best. Letting and then networking as well. So I think you're definitely in the right place. It is one of the best corporations. If you have any questions, please feel free to put them in the chat bar or maybe later on LinkedIn or at some point on my email. I would be really happy to discuss and share further with you. Thank you so much. Over to you, Emma, if there are any questions in your chat.
Hi, Sad. Thank you so much for your presentation and for the polls there. It's super interesting to see what people's perceptions are of PwC and what you do versus what you actually do. We have had some questions come through, and do feel free to keep adding them, everyone, as they kind of come to you. So we had a couple from Lucy, so I'm just going to get them up now. So Lucy Perks, the first one that Lucy asked was, do you work in all areas within PwC, or how does that work in your role?
So within PwC, there are definitely 4 lines of service: audit, tax, consulting, and then deals transactions. So once you join, you're definitely based into one of these lines of services, and within these different departments or services, we have got sub teams and sub business units. So you would have to choose your business unit where you think your goals align the most, where you think your thought process or what really interests you lies within those teams, ethics and basic fundamentals and their goals. Say if you're really interested in accounting and you're really good at math, so people for maybe in a role like audit or maybe transaction or accounting reporting accountant, where you're using a lot of accounting knowledge and a lot of financial numbers. Whereas if you really love problem solving and critical thinking, you might be more fit into. It just depends which line of service you think would suit further as you progress. You might want to choose your industry specific focus as well. Maybe you would want to more specialize into financial services, or maybe you would more connected to the energy and utilities business. So I am utilities business, and basically that being due to from working in Doha on the world's largest LNG platforms and oil and gas companies, I'm very close to the oil and gas industry. So, but when I started, I did a rotation in financial services and then energy and utilities and then in consumer as well. And then I realized, okay, I want to go back to energy and utilities. So it's all about trying different things in your first few years, understanding what the different teams do, doing a bit of investment in yourself, in your upskilling, in your market, industry expertise, and then people as well. So networking really, really helped me. And I would emphasize, if you're in your your university and graduating, you need to kickstart off with is networking with different people. Maybe if that's grabbing a coffee somewhere in a cafe around your university, or maybe just catching up with someone over lunch. Just a tip which I really focused on, got to know different teams within PwC, is by having coffee catch-ups with my already graduated and were part of PwC or other firms, and I was really close to them when I was in my first or second year. So your help you and guide you as well in selecting the right teams, all your investment that comes into place.
Yeah, no, it's so true. Networking and making connections is so important, and it can even act as a bit of a mentor into how to get into roles or when to apply. We've got loads of questions coming in now. So Lucy also asked, what's it like to work for PwC, and can you only work from London?
Well, no. The answer to this is because PwC itself, it's operating just in the UK, it's operating in almost every outside UK. It is so PwC 275,000 employees. So now you can imagine how big how it has offices in different countries. But then again, obviously, is an independent firm, whereas PwC Middle East, New York, or US, or maybe other countries would have different independent firms. But within the UK, you have PwC in Birmingham, London, Manchester, Leeds, Sheffield, Glasgow, Aberdeen. Tell me any city and I can tell you the closest PwC around there. So you don't need to work just from London, you can work from any part of the UK. And also PwC does provide you a flexible working opportunity employer on remote, a bit part of your time as remote working and a part of your week as being in the office. So that gives you a wider flexibility. Very few businesses or corporations are giving opportunity to do so. So no, you don't, in a nutshell, you don't need to be in London to work for PwC.
Amazing. We've got a really nice question here around how you feel when you go up to people for networking. So we've got a question that says, did you ever feel nervous approaching people for networking and coffee catch-ups? Does PwC foster a culture where you can just do that?
I think in the beginning, it used to be very overwhelming just to even message someone or just I would contacting someone because I would be like, maybe they're very busy, it would be. But over the time, I realized people love to network, and that's the human nature, specifically post-pandemic. Once we're coming back to the office in person or even virtually as well, and we also get to know the wide people around us. So if you are thinking of networking with, do not think twice, do send them a message. The worst that could be is that they're busy, or can we catch up maybe a month later? So, or the wouldn't end up having a catch up or networking with them, but you wouldn't have of not initiating from your end. So it's all about getting out of your comfort zone, trying your best, and then letting things flow in.
Awesome. No, that's really, really good advice, definitely. We've got so many questions coming in now. One is about your role that you mentioned within diversity and inclusion. So we've got a question that's just said, can you just touch a bit more on what that role is and how that works?
As a part of PwC, diversity and inclusion is a very big agenda that is set at the top leadership, where we are people to be from different diverse backgrounds, emphasizing people to be more inclusive. Everyone feels as a part of the team and as a part of the PwC family. Within my team, we have a council for diversity and inclusion, where within our team, where we focus on issues that are causing maybe gender diversity, maybe a biasness towards a specific gender. So we discuss on those issues and remove the bottlenecks. Apart from that, from an inclusive, we ensure if there's someone new in our team or there's someone who's having issues with specific reasons. So it's, again, case-to-case basis. We ensure that those issues are resolved very quickly and resolved in a streamlined basis, and just inclusive, make everyone feel inclusive despite of different backgrounds, different nationalities, or also moving forward, more inclusion perspective. Even if someone is joining a meeting virtually or in person, we should know that, because everyone has different way of working, and that's what PwC.
Amazing. That's really, really good to hear. Another question around networking, and this one's quite specific, but I think it should be okay. It's around networking on a larger scale. So how do you kind of find people with similar mindsets to you, or if you don't already know them, how do you take that first kind of step into asking someone for a catch up or to network?
So let's say after the session, I'll just give you a very live example that if you can just message me, hey, I said that was a really great session, loved your. When you're following up with someone or maybe putting it for a catch up, just say, I really loved hearing about your Melbourne experience or London experience around Middle East. So that shows the speaker that the viewer was really attention to detail and listening to what I said and was in my story. And people love talking about themselves. I love talking. So when you do that, the other person, he would know that, let's say Emma was listening to me, and she would be a good listener. So it would be great to catch up or maybe talk about my story. But when you follow up with someone, hey, how are you? Can we catch up? There's a very likely chance that the person would reply. So it's always necessary a personal touch to your message, but just ensure that you're within the boundaries and not breaking the boundaries of professionalism.
Yeah. No, I think that's such good advice. Make it personable, show that you've listened. A really good example of this that we've got right now is Fatima's question. She said, how did you find the secondment in Doha? How was it different to the UK?
I think it was in itself, because the people, the culture over there was very different. I was new to a new country and I was adjusting, and but the kind of clients you might have a little more Arabic speaking clients. There might be there. Then there's a lot. Doha is a lot family focused businesses, so you would have small clients with small family businesses rather than large multi-million corporations as you would find in London. So it's just a different and a challenging experience. But whenever you face challenges, take them as opportunities. When you come back, it is a really interesting story to tell your teams. Like just I'm talking about it right now. The best part of, I would say, was the summer, because it used to get 40, 45 degrees hot. So I still remember in May and June, I would go on a run on a seashore back. So that was the highlight. And my team was actually, my director used to come along with us. So we had a running team. We used to take, and that was something I used to look forward to every Wednesday. And I can't do that in London weather.
Yeah, no, that sounds great. Another question is a bit more about you and your role at PwC. I've got a question that's come through just saying, can you explain a little bit more about your role and what is your favourite part about your job?
I think in capital markets advisory and structuring, we provide transaction support when a business is going for a acquisition. We do a due diligence, we do an initial risk assessment, readiness, that are they ready for this transaction? Are they okay to execute this merger or do carve out? So we do an initial assessment. So we are the first point of contact when they're doing a transaction or undergoing through transactions. Apart from businesses on their IPO listing. So let's say if ABC company wants to, there are a few requirements you need to complete. You cannot go listed on New York Stock Exchange, London Stock Exchange without completing those requirements. And a lot of businesses do not have an idea about what those requirements are. So they would contact someone like PwC and our capital markets advisory team to know what those requirements would be and to execute those requirements. And obviously, when you're going on listing, Stock Exchange or London Stock Exchange might ask you for past 4 or 5 year data of past 3 years at least financial statements. And if you don't have those prepared, there would be a team within PwC who would strategize how you give a roadmap of next 5 years, and after 5 years you can go for an IPO. Similarly, we do support on debt restructuring, debt refinancing, structuring services, and also transaction accounting support. So if a business is going through a merger, what are the accounts, what are their pre-merger, and what would their accounts look like post-merger? And just a lot of accounting details come in that space as well. And our team is quite dynamic. So if you are more accounting focused, then you can join the reporting accounting. If you think you really love working with clients on financial due diligence or maybe capital markets listing requirements, you can work on those teams. So within our team as well, there's a subset of 4 teams. So you would want to, you can be very flexible at the beginning or maybe at a senior associate level. You would want to specialize in one area and be a subject matter expert. So that's a bit of the kind of work I do. I did 3 years of audit as well, the PwC graduate program in audit. And then after 3 years, I moved to this merger. And the basic pathway within PwC, which a lot of people follow, is doing a audit scheme for 3 years and then moving into a senior associate window. So that's one of the great opportunities PwC also has. So if you want to move parallelly on the same grade into different teams, PwC supports those moves and supports those relocations as well, just like I relocated to London and changed my teams as well.
Awesome. That's super interesting. We have a question now around transitioning to PwC, and I'd quite like to ask you this with the social mobility perspective as well. So the question is, did you find it hard transitioning to PwC life and the lifestyle that comes with it?
I think I'll go back to how much fun I had in uni and how it's different to a professional career. I traveled a lot in my university and my 3rd year as well. I was really hardworking, but I loved to travel. So every week, the whole 5 days, I would work really hard. But on the weekends, I'll just take my backpack, my training shoes, or my hiking shoes, and go for hikes or go to beautiful spots around the UK. So that I had energy and time to do all of this. But once you transition into your work life, and if you're transiting into kind of teams within PwC, you might be doing your professional qualification exams as well. Is a part of audit grad scheme, which I did as well. I did my chartered accountants, my audit grad scheme, and after that I made this move. Quite difficult to balance all of it, but the key is time, knowing when you can work on your projects and knowing when to take leaves for your study. Time management becomes really important once you transition into any working role, and specifically when you're doing professional qualification alongside your day-to-day work. It's very important, and I can't emphasize try to manage my time around and around my well-being as well. But PwC is really in terms of giving you the study leaves at the right time, taking care of your well-being, sure that you have enough support from your mentors, from your line managers. We have a buddy as well all the time when we're working. Your buddy is basically someone who is your go-to person for any questions, for any logical or logistical issues you have, or maybe some mentorship. Our team is super supportive in terms. So I think when you're transitioning into this phase, differences in your lifestyles, but PwC would be very supportive of how you're feeling and making sure you're not feeling overwhelmed through transitioning phase.
Awesome. Lots more questions. I think we've got about 9 minutes, so we'll choose a couple and keep any last minute ones coming in. A question that's been voted for, a few people have said we want to hear more about this, is how senior have the people been that you've approached when it comes to networking? Are the more senior people less open to catch-ups?
So it essentially depends on what I'm trying to conversation. If it is just talking about the role, what does this specifically the specific team do? If I want to know more about what their day-to-day tasks are, then definitely I would want to connect with someone who is very hands-on, maybe at a senior consultant level or a senior associate level, or maybe at most a manager level. But if it is something that I would want to send my CV across, get through a referral, or maybe you would want a little more knowing what the team does, maybe you would want to reach out to someone at a level, but you would also want to ensure that this person, you have interacted with this person at some place, at some spot, or maybe you have seen his documentary or his speech somewhere so that you can personally connect. So connecting back to the point which I said, you need to kickstart, you need a starting discussion or a starting point to kickstart a conversation. So I'll just give an example of how I connected with a few partners today while I was making my move. It was more about, hey, I really loved your speech on this ESG topic. I would love to discuss more about it. And I'm also very enthusiastic about it and would love to know what are your views about this. And then see what the replies come. And the worst come worst response, but at least you tried.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I think that's a really interesting point as well around if you've connected with them in some way previously, then they're much more likely to engage with you than if it is just like a cold interaction where you may not have never met before. A few questions about application processes, and I appreciate a few of these might be quite specific, so do feel free to catch up in the employer booths afterwards about this. But one thing that you may well be able to help with, Usad, is how did you stand out, did you find, throughout the application processes? What did you do to help yourself stand out? That's a tricky one.
There's a lot of things, because a lot of things are circular. And I think specifically just be yourself and be who you are. One key thing. And then the thing which I would say is do not just, your grades are really important. I don't mean to say they're not, but do not just put all your eggs into one basket. Ensure that you also are part of extra. You're a part of a sports team. Maybe you're running an event management or a society. Roles within project management of those events or those societies, so that when questions about a challenging time or you ask questions on you do have examples to talk about. So I think that is really important. And the other thing I would say is just be honest, be yourself, stick to your personal traits, and if you goals align with PwC, and if PwC thinks the goals are, it's a two-way conversation, right? It's not you want PwC wanting you, it's really important to ensure that my personal goals and align with this PwC as well. So just be yourself, focus on all the aspects of your life, be involved in extracurriculars, be involved in societies, try to get a role in management of any event within a society or sport.
Yeah, I think that's brilliant advice. And think about the things that you might not necessarily realize are so relatable to your career, like any part-time jobs, as you said, societies, extracurricular activities, traveling. All of those things help you build skills to apply to the workplace. So really, really good advice.
It's really funny how my living in different countries through my Melbourne experience of exchange about how do you settle into a new country where you don't know a lot of people. I said, I have done this, but maybe in a different context. I've gone to a new country in Australia, started my education there, got a place for myself on my own, started in a new place, got my clearance or government clearance for working, got my driving license over there. I've done all this myself before, so it's not something new. It's really help you, because what you learn in these experiences, in these global mobility programs or exchange programs, is not depending on anyone and being self-sufficient, I would say. And that really helps as you go further in your grade in your careers.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's so true. Being in an interview thinking, oh, I have actually had experience in this, but it's something that you didn't think would relate, but it really does. That's been amazing. Maybe we've got time to sneak in one more question. What do we think? Let's try and sneak in a quick one. And you can answer any more specific ones later on in the employer booth. But does PwC have summer internships?
Yeah. And their summer internships, you can find them on their website. Summer internships, it would be within different lines of services, but within capital markets advisory, do not have summer internships because they take directly. We do not have graduates or associates in our team because it's a very niche position. So once you go through an audit program, or maybe as an associate, spend 3 years, qualify with your chartered accountancy, and then you can move into our teams. So in our team, we don't have summer internships, but there are summer internships in audit graduates, audit programs, as well as risk programs.
Yeah, amazing. Okay, awesome. You know what? I'm going to sneak in one last one because we've had a really good one come through. So the last one is, what do you think we can all do, even in just a couple of words, to help companies have a more diverse workforce?
I think this is more about just trying to understand where people are coming from, trying to understand everyone's background, because not everyone is the same.
Yeah.
Everyone's brought up is the same. A lot of people have been brought up with difficulties, either that be financial issues, either that be social issues. Everyone's mindset and the way we think is not the same. And that's where the comes in, to understand the root cause of how they are, and then taking that and then focusing on how to respond to how to respond to different people in different manners. So a lot of times what we do is we segment people in one group, and then we respond to all of them in one specific way. Is brought up differently. Everyone's mindsets are different. Everyone thinks differently. So I think it's really important to understand at a personal level. And what I do personally is, if I'm working with, really get to know my teammates, either that's someone above me or that's someone, just to understand where they're coming from, what's their background level. Maybe that could even be, how did your day start? How's your family? What do you eat for food today? These questions do help you understand, the people, everyone's background, everyone's thoughts, everyone's day-to-day life. I might have to give time to, whereas someone he wouldn't have a bigger family or have time commitments to. So not two people are the same. Others are the same. Not two people's day are the same, despite they might be at the same grade, working in the same team.
Oh, amazing. What a beautiful message to end on. That was really, really amazing. Thank you so much, Yusuf. And for any questions that were asked that we didn't have time for, there were just so many, feel free to head over to employer booths. PwC have a booth there. They'll be answering some questions. And also, I'm sure Yusuf would be happy to share his contact details if anyone would like them, practice some networking and some contact building. But yeah, thank you so much again. Really, really great presentation.
Thank you so much, Emma. I'll drop my LinkedIn profile down here in the chat if anyone wants to connect or maybe have a chat later.
Amazing. Awesome. Thank you so much.